Good afternoon, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Compton here with your Sunday school lesson from last week. I hope everybody is at home doing all the things they need to be doing at home, or maybe talking to some friends online, or playing outside and getting your schoolwork done. All those things that we've all been doing in the past couple weeks. I want to remind you kind of what we did last week. We were talking about the Israelites as they were crossing the Red Sea. And as they crossed, they were cheering and celebrating and singing and dancing. And maybe you guys did some singing and dancing at some point this week after you heard the lesson, or something just made you super happy. Well, the Israelites have now crossed the sea and they're in the desert. So if you can picture yourself walking in the desert, there might be something that you could be a little unhappy about. I know right now, there's plenty of things that we could be unhappy about right now. And as you can see, I have some friends online on this video that might be a little happy if you can hear some of their complaints.
So one tiny complaint I have right now are the face masks we have to wear during this pandemic. I know they're saving lives and they're keeping us healthy, but I will not miss the day when we don't have to wear face masks everywhere. Sometimes I forget it because I just run out to get one quick thing and I'm out and I can't understand what other people are saying and they can't understand what I'm saying, and the mask smells kind of funny and it's tight or too loose, or it's itching. So I really won't miss the face masks when they're gone, and that's my one tiny complaint right now. Hello. Can I have a kiss? Kiss? Oh, you both gave me a kiss.
So one thing that I have to complain about that's a super tiny little complaint is that I really need a haircut. My hair is getting so big and so long and so unruly, and I really just need a haircut. So that's my one little bitty complaint that I have in the midst of this.
Okay, so have you ever heard that noise where, when you take two styrofoam cups and you, rub them together? Yeah, that's the worst sound in the world. It's just so bad. And the people who do it, they know what they're doing.
I'm so bored.
But as we complain and grumble about things, God still hears us. God hears how we need certain things and how He can provide for us, even though we may not be asking in the most polite way. And the Israelites felt the same way as they were walking through the desert with Moses. They were probably hot and tired, and most of all, they were getting hungry. So as they were walking, they were looking for some food, and they were grumbling and complaining to Moses about how they didn't have food. And do you think God heard them? I think He did. Because as it came one day, Moses told them to watch out for things that might come from heavens, or that God may provide for them. But they had to be very careful about how they got these things. So as I read you the story, I want you to listen for some certain words. You might hear the word manna, which means food. And I have some, maybe what be manna that right now, it's just Cheerios. And quail, which is a type of bird. This is not exactly a quail, but this is what we had at our house. So here's the story, and it's from Exodus. Over a month into the journey and further into the desert, the people stopped to camp in the desert. And they had to consider their lack of food and once again grumble and pine for Egypt. The pillars of cloud by day and fire by night seemed to still leading Moses and the people on this journey. Now at this point in time, the glory of the Lord became apparent to the people in a cloud over the desert, but more was to come from the sky. God provided meat, quail that flew into camp each evening, and manna, wafer-like flakes that flew and landed on the dew each morning for the people. God laid out instructions for the amount to be gathered, and anyone gathering more discovered that this extra simply would rot and fill with worms. So what he did was, in the morning, he would make this manna fall from the heavens. And it might be covered with dew, but as soon as the dew would go away, this manna would be on the ground for them. And then you could use this to make bread or just eat it however they would. Now this is not manna, this is Cheerios again. But it would be falling from the sky. And they could go out and collect it, but Moses said you can only collect a certain amount. Because if there were people that were too super greedy, they would get it and they would not eat it, and then it might turn to worms then later on in the day. And that would be gross and disgusting, right? So they could only collect a certain amount. In the evening, the quail flew from the sky, and this would be their meat that they would live on. They did this for 6 days. But on the 6th day, God said, you must collect your enough food for the next day, and it will be fine if you collect it for the next day, and so you will have enough for the Sabbath, because on the Sabbath day God was resting and he wanted the people to be resting too. So even though they were in the desert and they were hot and they were tired and maybe not in the best of spirits, God still sent this manna down from the heavens and quail so they could have some bread and meat to eat. So as we're going through the rest of the quarantine and you're home and you're happy and you're maybe not exactly right where you want to be, just think that God will provide somehow for us. He's given us all a house to live in. He's given us all food to eat, whether it's exactly your pick of food, but we all have food to eat and a warm house to live in and heat in our house, and maybe some friends to connect with online, and family to connect with and give a phone call to. So if you're thinking that maybe sometimes God is just not providing, He's always looking out. And even though sometimes we might not be asking in the most polite way, God still is looking out for us and our needs. So I want you to, once this is done, go look on the blog and you'll find a little craft that you can do. You're going to make a heart out of construction paper, or you can paint it, or however you want to do it. And in there, see if you can fill in as much of the heart as you can with things that God provided you for. Maybe it's your food or your bed or your siblings or your mom and dad or your grandmother, or maybe the sunshine. However, but I want to see if you can fill that heart up, and let's see if we can make it pretty big with all the things that God has provided that we can be thankful for. And I have some friends here, maybe at the end of the video, and they have some things that they would like to share with you that they are happy that God provided them with. So as we go on to the next week, I want you to think of all the things that when you're not maybe having the best day, or you think you have too much schoolwork or not enough schoolwork, or you're not seeing your friends enough, or you're bored, or it's raining. Think of all the things that God has provided with us while we've been home in this quarantine. So I want everybody to do that and look for the craft. And you can even look for a recipe of some manna cookies I found online. I might try them this weekend. So if you try them, let me know how they turn out. And maybe it might not be like the manna that the Israelites had or my little Cheerios, but you can tell us how it is. So I'm so glad you joined us for this lesson. And remember, if you want to look this up in your Bible, it's Exodus 16. And you can read it for yourself about the manna and the quail that we read about in our story. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
God provided us the ability to tumble and play.
I'm thankful that we have technology.
I'm thankful that we
I'm thankful for food.